Hey there, flower friends. This is Jessi with the Gardener's Workshop. Welcome. Welcome to our watch party. We're getting ready to get started here. And I want to just say hello to everybody. And I'm getting ready to welcome Lisa and Lennie to the stage. And we'll get our chat started. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad to have you here. Let me go ahead and get them brought up. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jessi. Hey, friends. Hey, Lennie.
Hi, Lennie.
Fancy seeing you guys here.
It's good to see both of you, and I'm so happy that you could make it to our watch party event. I'm looking forward to it.
I am. I'm pretty excited about this because I really don't know how this is going to unfold. And it's very exciting just not knowing what's going to actually happen here. So this is super cool. Thanks for thinking of it, Jessi, and making it happen.
Of course. So I brought my beverage of choice. It is a sparkling water. I didn't bring any snacks, though.
I have the snacks. And because Susie, we did a show this morning and Susie brought Reese cups, which she heard me mention to folks that Reese cups are my favorite. And Lennie, I wished I could just hand you one.
I know.
I mean, I told Jessi before this started a few minutes ago, it's like, is this like the movies? Can I eat all the popcorn and cook candy before the thing even starts?
I know.
And I have my poison too, which I'm a diet Pepsi person. I typically never drink it at night, but that's what's in my bottle. So I'm ready to roll.
I am very boring with water, but in a fun water bottle. So at least there's that. And also just thank you guys for having me so much. It's very, very fun to be here with you tonight. So thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. And I heard some word that we may also have our guest flower farmer that was with us for this podcast, Torrie Anderson, perhaps in the comments. So we're excited about that too. And looking forward to hearing from her. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. And what we are trying to do here tonight, oh, there she is, the flower farm at Young's Mill. That's Tori. Hi, Tori. Welcome to the comments. So glad you could make it.
So Tori is in the house. I'm so glad she's here so she can chit chat with our friends in the comments. And so glad she's here.
Yeah. So this event kind of came to mind because we did a recording a while back. We did sort of a mentorship roundtable with Tori. And Tori is a student of the Gardener's Workshop courses. She's a local flower farmer, local to Lisa. And just so sweet to want to participate in this event. I think it came out really great. And we're just showing some highlights from the podcast tonight and chatting about them. And because the full length podcast is going to be released on Tuesday. So just wanted to let everybody know that there'll be some things that are not in here. I didn't put all of the best tips in here. This is highlights. So anyway, what I'm going to do is go ahead and play some clips and I'll just kind of stop them here and there. Or you guys can even shout at me if you want me to stop it somewhere, and you're welcome to, make some comments or add to whatever it is that we're talking about. The first part of it is where Tori kind of introduces herself, talks about her farm and stuff like that. And I thought that'd be a good introduction for anyone who's not familiar with her farm and just to kind of get an idea of what her scenario is, where she's at with it. So I'm going to switch over to that. Let's see here. We'll probably go ahead and remove our banner and switch over. Let's see.
Thanks again for having me. This is really fun to be with you guys. I have a flower farm called the Flower Farm at Young's Mill. We're located in southeastern Virginia, Newport News, just a few miles away from Lisa, actually. This is our 4th growing season. We grow cool flowers, summer annuals. This year we added a bunch of perennials. We have 4 kids. My husband and I run the farm. They're 13, 11, 7, and 4. So my hands are full. So our property is about an acre. We're installing some terracing to kind of maximize our space since we're not working with like a flat open field. And then we also have our house and our driveway. And then we also lease a 1 acre lot that's about a 2-minute walk. And so I'd say between the 2 properties and the uneven terrain, it's about a half an acre that is active growing space. This year, we actually hired some help, which has been amazing. 2 of them are still high school age, and then 2 just started college. So that's helped me a whole bunch this summer. So Fridays we have our members come. Saturdays we're at a farmer's market, and then beginning of the week we're selling to florists and designers.
So that is just kind of, oh, hold on one second. All right. So I think I probably meant to hit this one right here. There we go.
I think we're all impressed with your skills, Jessi. So that made us all feel a little bit more at home. Like, oh, okay, she messed up too on something, you know.
It was supposed to be casual, right?
You're amazing. Yeah.
So anyway, that's a little background on where Torrie's coming from and her situation. You know, she's got her flower farm that's on her family property and a little bit of extra property that is a walking distance away that she also leases to farm on, about a half an acre. And, you know, she's got some helpers starting this year, and she's selling to florists early in the week. And then she's doing a on-site market where people come to the house on Fridays and purchase their flowers there. And then she's doing a farmer's market on Saturday. And so those are like her different selling outlets. I feel like that is a fairly typical setup, especially for someone who's kind of in that 3 to 4 year mark. And I also feel like maybe that is kind of the point where a lot of people start to second guess like what it is they're doing and thinking about, you know, what their options are. Don't you guys think that's pretty common?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think you're moving from sort of what I've started to hear some farmers describe it as like the beta testing phase or the research and development year or years, as is more practically happening, into like the refining phase. So she's at the point right now of stepping back and thinking, what's really working for me and my family? What's not working? What can we be doing more of? What can we be doing less of? And how can we make it a little bit easier now that we know we have our market created, we've created some demand, we know what we're good at growing, and how do we streamline in order to keep the farm in business and keep having an easier time of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what Tori is facing, you know, because she came to us with under our little ribbon of what's your problem is what we wanted to know. It's like, what are you facing that we might be able to kind of kick around some ideas? And I can only remember back to how overwhelmed and stressed I was when I was at that point in my flower farming career. But of course, we got to go to a conference once a year. We didn't have social media. You really felt out there and alone. But I also, listening to all the options that people have now, that's as overwhelming as being out there on your own, right? And because I'll tell you, you know, I am ADHD for sure. And how easy is it to jump from what you're doing that you feel like maybe you're not doing as well as you thought you were to jump into another arena? And it is hard to stay in your lane. I mean, I have trouble with that. I mean, every day.
Yeah.
Right. Do you, Lennie? I mean, don't you feel that way?
100%. It's so funny. I just got off a call with another farmer like an hour ago, and we were talking about her crop planning and her seeding schedule. But she was saying she's ready to start fine tuning her seeding schedule and her crop plan. And she then, was winging it for a few years. But now she said she her eyes got wide and she started listening to all the resources that are available now for flower farmers. And she jumped into some much bigger, much more complicated seeding schedule based on someone else's plan and their successions that they need in their climate and their spreadsheet that they created for themselves. And she started to feel so lost and overwhelmed. And we had this exact same conversation, Lisa. In fact, I wish you had been there in the call, Lisa. I mean, I often wish that. But, I said, you found that something isn't working for you any longer, but the answer isn't out with all these other resources, all these other farmers and what they're doing. It's actually through just having the wherewithal and the confidence to take a step back and look at what you have been doing on your farm and what might work for you, and knowing how to get curious and ask the right questions and how to look at the data. And data sounds like a big word, but basically it's like numbers, sales, like what worked, what didn't, what crops work, what didn't, and move forward with what works for you. But you're right. A problem is that we have so much influence, so many other people's farms coming across our eyes and what they're doing and what seems to be working for them. And it's like, oh, would that work for me? Would that work for me? Would that work for me?
And then it's a vicious cycle, because then you're so overwhelmed by that.
Yes.
You don't even think that you can step back and look at what you're doing. You know what I face often, between writing books and creating courses and doing things, people always think that all of my resources are about when and how I plant for my region. And it's like, I love using the example. No, I don't give you fish. I teach you how to fish.
Yes.
I mean, and so many people, I think, because of the overwhelm of so many choices, don't even feel like they can face that. And it is a tough, I'm telling you, locking yourself in a room without a phone and really doing some deep thinking and looking at what you've been doing could be very, very helpful. I'm trying to force myself to do that.
That's why, Lisa, when you originally came up with the concept for doing this podcast, I was so excited, the opportunity for someone to get the chance to talk to both of you, experts in your areas, and get some feedback from people that have been there and have done all of this stuff. And in your case, Lennie, who talk to people every day trying to solve these types of problems. I think I'm so happy that Tori was willing to participate, but I feel like it was a great opportunity for all of us to get to talk about it. So let me see if I can pull this back up. We'll see how he goes.
We have faith.
My intention is I want to be really efficient with my time because my time is very stretched. So whatever sales outlet I go to, I want it to be like the most bang for your buck. Farmers markets, for me, I love the community piece of it. I love that our farmers market is just like a couple miles down the road. So when I have a sign up and it says Newport News Grown, people are like, where? Like, that is really cool. But I would say that the market is not consistent. It's pretty small. There's probably on a good day, 8 or 9 vendors, including myself, and you might have multiple sweets and multiple bread people. There's one produce person. It's all consumable. But the unique part about this market is it's in a downtown, it's called Main Street, and there's a strip of shops, and they're open Saturday mornings. And so when I look around, I'm like, this is such a cool place to be. Where is everybody?
Right.
The market draws people there Saturday morning, and then there's all those shops, and you see people kind of buzzing around, and it's really fun for our town to have that. But the sales are not great. Also,
I wanted to just stop it there for a second and say, that in case anyone is just now joining us, I know sometimes it takes a while to get everybody on. We are doing some highlights from a Field and Garden podcast that's going to be released on Tuesday. This is our highlights watch party, and we're so happy to have Lennie Larkin with us and Lisa Mason Ziegler and our Torrie Anderson from the Flower Farm at Young's Mill here in the comments. So thank you and welcome to this event. And I was going to say that I hear a lot of sweetness. This market sounds really lovely. I can imagine it the way she's describing it. It just sounds very picturesque, doesn't it? Uh-oh, Lisa, you're muted.
Those peanut
Sorry.
butter, I blame the peanut butter cups.
Yeah. It is a super sweet market. It's called Hilton Village. So it has got that villagey kind of feel to it. And I understand why she is drawn to it. So it's a really sweet place.
Yeah. It sounds like somewhere that she might like to visit as a customer one day once she is no longer, I mean, this is my tough love now coming out, but once she no longer is using her working hours to be there, it's starting to sound, as we get deeper into her situation, that it's not panning out for her from a business level. And, I'm almost ready to make a rule for new flower farmers at farmers markets. Like if it's been 3 years and you're not having the sales to support the time and the effort and the flowers that's costing your business money to be there, then pull out. And that's not to say anything negative about farmers markets. It sounds lovely. It sounds absolutely lovely, but maybe she could better use that farmers market to stroll with her kids on a day off once in a while, or to participate as an occasional vendor,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have this number, Lennie, maybe you do. I wonder, what is the percentage of foot traffic that attends the market that you could expect sales from? Because right. I know when I'm teaching people, it's like when somebody calls me up and asks me to attend a farmer's market or some kind of event and bring my flowers, the first thing I want to know is what's the average attendance? Totally. Because if there's only 100 or even 200 people, that would be dismal. I was a member of the Williamsburg Farmers Market for 3 or 4 years back in the beginning. And you couldn't even walk from my booth across to the other booth across from me because there were so many people. Right. And that was a major market and they're hard to get in. But I just feel like the people that need the business the most are the people that are in these smaller markets that don't have leadership perhaps or the backing to market the market. And that's the problem. Right. You can't drag the anchor along with you. And it's just, it's with every business, right? It's like, the market managers need to have a flower farmer group that they're part of, where they can help each other because you've got to have people. You can't sell to nobody. Yeah,
100%. And, farmers markets can be such a great launching point for the brand new flower farmer. And it has been in this case, but I think once it does the job of getting the word out about your farm. And that takes active participation from you. That takes not being on your phone or having your teenager working the market on their phone. That means connecting with every person who walks by. Yeah. And I often tell flower farmers, and I'm sure you do too, that if, they're not having great luck with sales on a day, then to shift the focus into just connect with as many passersby as possible. These days, get as many email addresses as possible. Your goal is exposure. And then if the farmer's market isn't paying off for you after a few years, that's when you can potentially pull back, knowing that you've built your brand. You've gotten all these eyeballs on your business, and now they're on your email list. They're following you on social media, and now you can bring them to your farm stand or to your subscription or whatever it is you're gonna do next.
And that kind of does lead into something that we'll talk about later for people that are wondering where this is going. So Tori's about to explain another common problem with the farmers market. Not that we're trying to, be super negative about farmers markets, but it's something else that she experienced. And so I'll go ahead and play that.
Our flowers last almost 2 weeks. And so I see my customers walk by and they like wave, they're like, my flowers still look good. And I'm like, great. What more?
So I experienced that too when I was at farmers markets. And I think it's wonderful that the flowers last as long as they do, but you can't count on the same people buying every week because they're so good.
I am of the frame of mind now, after being in business for 30 years, is that I am constantly looking for new customers. I mean, always, because people come and people go, people get sick, people's flowers last 2 weeks. I mean, we heard that exact phrase when we were at the Williamsburg Farmers Market. Your flowers are so amazing. They still look great. It's like, oh, great. How can I make them die at day 6? That's what you're thinking when you're standing there with a booth full of beautiful flowers. But yeah, I think that's a frequent flyer.
Yeah.
And it gets back to what you said a moment ago, Lisa, which is, if we don't know the number. I don't think there is a great number, but if you need to make one sale, how many people need to be at that market that day to make that sale, or how many people need to walk by your booth? And I think about this too, if an average family, unless they're flower obsessed, right? If an average customer of yours is going to buy your flowers once a month or something, then that means you need that many more customers in your pool of customers, in your bucket. Let's call it a bucket. Everything's a bucket, in your customer bucket. If they're only buying once every month or once every 2 weeks, which is probably typical for most people rather than every week. So therefore you need to have an even bigger pool of customers. And that means you need to have come across the radar of an even bigger pool, an even bigger bucket. And it's just you making those connections one person at a time with people in your town. And I think, Lisa, you do such a good job of this over the years. You've just shared the ways that you have really seen your flowers as a real community service, even with your market customers, but also your florists, and just getting out and making these real world human connections with people in order to get them into your ecosystem. And we have so many fancy technology based methods of doing this these days, but sort of nothing beats the feet on the ground, boots on the ground, meeting people.
So funny that you should say that. I've talked to several flower farmers that have come behind me selling to florists that were my customers for 20 some years, right? And they bought a lot of flowers from us.
Yeah.
And the technology that we used, 2 of them only had fax machines because they wanted to hear the fax, and they would go over and look at the list. And they knew that within 5 minutes I would call them. Sending an email follow-up, none of that. So what you're saying is just so true. It's like they loved hearing my voice. I wanted to know how their kid was. We connected. They wanted to know what the dog was doing. And those things, they paid off for me anyway, for sure.
Yeah. So I will say we didn't talk much about Torrie's florist sales during this conversation, but we got the impression that she felt like she was doing pretty good there. And so it was kind of these Friday, Saturday events, that end of the week that we were focusing on. So I'm going to go ahead and just play this next section here.
If we could wave a wand right now, what would you want? It does sound like just more sales, right? You're growing a lot of flowers and you're not selling all of them. That sounds like one of your problems, right?
Yes, for sure.
But I think to make the best decision for your business and for your family, it really is worth putting pen to paper and writing out how much time and effort and labor and dollars at the end of the day you are spending to be at that market, and it starts with the day before. And it sounds like you grow super high quality flowers. I'm guessing you're sort of a perfectionist, because I'm guessing Lisa and I work with a lot of perfectionists. I'm imagining all the flower farmers want everything to be perfect, from each flower to the market setup, which goes a long way. But I think we can sometimes get carried away with wanting everything to be A plus 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 when like B work can sometimes be just fine. But I think it's worth doing a little back of the napkin calculation for yourself. Like it takes us 5 hours to prepare for market, half an hour to get there, an hour to set up, 4 hours on site, an hour to come home. We bring home this many flowers, so that's unsold product. So you have all those costs, and then you balance them with your sales. And if your sales are like $200, I can already tell you you're barely breaking even. And so it's not only the loss of all that time and money, but it's, what they call the opportunity cost. What else could you be doing with that super valuable time and effort and bandwidth? So I just wanted to encourage you to do that before we move on, because sometimes seeing it on paper can make you take the leap that is right for your business, but your emotions haven't quite caught up to yet.
Right.
I'm nodding along. I'm like, wow, what great advice.
I was too.
Yeah, but it's just so dead on. I mean, that is such a basic foundational piece of any business is what are the numbers? It's like, you're just guessing, you're just wondering, that's in any business. It's like, if you're not looking at actual numbers, you know nothing. And it's just not as hard as there are definitely people and ways to do that are very complex, but that's not the way that we do it, right?
Right.
I mean, it just is very basic and simple, and it is an eye-opening experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's flower farmer math, it's back in the napkin, old pencil on a napkin math or something. And it's just, there's the nuts and bolts of it. There's, looking at any sales channel or any customer type, whether you're evaluating your farmer's market or your florist sales, and doing that simple math. How much time does it take me just to sell through this method? And we're not talking about all the time it costs you to grow the flowers. We're not even getting into all that. We're talking broad strokes here. And then evaluating that, saying, is it bringing in enough money? And if you have, she's been at this market for a few years now, it's clear that it's no longer serving her. But sometimes until you do that math and see those numbers, you don't realize that. And, taking this out to kind of a broader business lesson, there's also the fact that if Tori were to look at her total sales for the year, and she shared that she's not happy with them yet. They're still climbing and increasing as we would expect with a year for a flower farmer, right?
Yep.
But if she really took that number of sales and then compared that with the amount of space she's growing on, I suspect she could be growing on, I'm just making up numbers, but growing on quarter acre and selling the amount of flowers she's growing. Again, not throwing Tori under the bus. She sounds like a brilliant farmer, but this is the case with most flower farmers.
Yeah.
We start tending more and more space, and that takes more and more time. But if you're only selling this much and you could be growing that amount of flowers on a much smaller space, you're just gardening in your spare time and not making money on it. So then we have to really get real and clear about how to increase those sales, increase the sales goal so that we can, I keep switching hands, so that we can, grow and sell all of those flowers that we're growing on that space. Or we're saying, okay, we're happy with this amount of sales. Let's grow on a smaller space so that we can get our time back and enjoy our family and enjoy our Saturdays again, where maybe we're a visitor to the farmer's market rather than a vendor.
Yeah. So something else I was going to point out from earlier, in case anyone missed that earlier in the show, is that Tori mentioned that part of her growing space is leased. And so you have to take that into consideration too, on your back of napkin, type of math, when you talk about how much growing space you actually need for your sales and that kind of stuff. So important to think about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a natural step in your mind. It was in my mind anyway. When sales maybe weren't where I wanted them to be, to think, all right, I just need to grow some different flowers. I need to add diversity. Let's grow more of other flowers I'm not even growing now, which is like a farce. It's like ridiculous to even think that way. And then that just it literally throws you under the bus, because now you're spending more time growing, harvesting flowers that aren't going out the door, and you're too exhausted to even think about marketing. And that's not most flower farmers' first love. You know what I mean? So let's not do the hard jobs. Let's just go out in the field and grow some more flowers, and they'll sell, right? And that's the whole vicious cycle that I fell for, and I see it happens to other people because it's just kind of natural.
Absolutely. And, I was about to say that you and I, Lisa, being limited in space kind of from the get-go. I mean, you're literally surrounded by development, right? And I only was leasing a small plot. We had to get, not only do we have to get super efficient, but we had to maximize our sales. We had to let our eyes get big with our sales potential, and then make it work in our small amount of space. And I think that a lot of flower farmers that start off with a little bit more growing space at their disposal are sometimes shooting themselves in the foot when they start out too big.
Yeah. People will walk up to you after a talk or something and say, "Oh my gosh, I have 20 acres." And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, give away 19 of them." Because it does, you think you need that, and it just helps you to spread out. And that is the beginning of the end in my experience with following people.
And I just want to thank Tori again for being the guinea pig in this type of scenario. That we're talking about very common challenges and ones that probably every flower farmer faces in one way or another along the way on their journey. And so we're hoping that this will reach some folks that are also kind of in a struggling position, or maybe in that 3 to 4 year range, and it really resonates with them. So I hope that's the case for you guys that are watching. What we ended up doing in the course of the podcast is not to give too much away, I guess, but we decided we were kind of leaning towards suggesting that perhaps if Tori was willing to phase out the Saturday farmers market, perhaps through the end of the season, that she might be able to work on expanding her market that she has at her home from just Friday to Friday and Saturday, and maybe not have it be exactly the same every day, but like maybe have one part be where she participates and one where she doesn't, that kind of thing. And so we were kind of talking through some different options with her, and we're not covering all of the details, all the ins and outs of it in this event. But after that was suggested, I think this next clip comes after that was suggested. So I'll go ahead and play that.
I would say I like the idea of growing our Flower Pass program. I like the idea of being at home with my family on a Saturday morning and not having to load up the car again and hauling everything over and dumping buckets of water in my car. That all sounds really nice.
And hauling the flowers back when they don't sell. That's the worst.
Yes, I like the idea of growing our Flower Pass program. I've not really considered that. I don't know why, which is why I'm talking to you, right? Outside of the box.
This is my hot tip, I think, is to set aside an hour a week to work on marketing. And I know you haven't had time to do this so far, but this is going to make all the difference. Reaching out and collaborating with other businesses around town, following up with old friends in town who haven't bought from you and reminding them that you have a farm, doing a few little campaigns with your members and getting them to bring a friend in, get a friend to buy a flower pass and you get a free whatever. The sky is the limit, but if you sit down every week and you're like, this is my marketing hour, you're going to really be able to lean into this and to really grow this program.
Yeah, I think that's great.
So that's the end of the highlights. Okay.
I see over in the comments that that Tori has said, I think she said this when I said growing all those different flowers, and that I felt like that was going to solve my problem. She says, no, Lennie says, don't do that in her book. And I know that Tori is a student of Lennie. I mean, not only your course, but your book. And you know, it's just so hard sometimes, I think, to find your way. And I feel like starting at ground level, which is the numbers, I now know. I didn't used to believe that this way.
Right.
That's the only place. I mean, Jessi has helped me to understand that as our marketing person. It's like, well, but we would need to compare the numbers. It's like we're just blowing hot air here until we have the numbers. And I think that flower farmers sometimes feel like their business is so small that those kinds of rules don't apply. That's what I thought anyway. But I think that I would be, I can't wait for us to check back in with Tori at some point in time and see how this season plays out, and what changes she made. And I just think that would be a real interesting follow-up.
Yeah, I love that. What a gift to have joined you guys on that podcast, because she's a student of mine, a student of yours. You know her in person. You're in the same town. Just a really fun experience to get all of our minds together. And, and it was really illuminating because Tori, even, you could see it. You could see these little light bulb moments where she said, oh, I hadn't considered that, or I hadn't considered this. And I think this advice of ours to get down with the numbers, to get real with the numbers, and then also to sort of open yourself up. I think we tend to get kind of complacent. It seems like we're anything but complacent. We're working so hard on our businesses, but we have this baggage we bring to it. Oh, everyone in town already knows about me and my flowers.
Right.
My Saturday market at the farm, or my market at the farm, my private market is as big as it's going to be because I told people about it. And so they've joined. And, not to say that this was Tori's demeanor, but I think we forget how much opportunity there is out there to spread the word.
And, Lennie, I think it doesn't matter how big you are. We face that. I was thinking when I was getting ready earlier, just about my business, not in flower farm. And I thought, you know what? Because I was thinking about, we just set these limits on ourselves. And I thought, you know what? We could only teach and talk about seed starting for the rest of my professional career and never run out, because everybody wants to start seeds. And the same things, flowers are consumables. You know what I mean? They are going to die sooner or later.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. We just assume that everybody knows, and they've chosen to not buy flowers because, I cook up all kinds of ideas. They don't like my flowers. My flowers aren't good enough, whatever. So yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. I think that, in Tori's case, she maybe hadn't even, until she started talking it through with us, maybe wasn't even totally aware that her Friday market was considered quite successful. Do you know what I mean? I believe she had it's not in the highlight, but I think she said she had over 130 subscriptions already for her Friday market after not having run it for terribly long. And, we really thought that she could probably expand that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we talked through some scenarios with her and stuff in the full length podcast. And I felt like we were all really excited for the prospect of her to be able to offer some additional time on her farm instead of at the farmer's market eventually, realizing she would need to phase that out, of course, if she wanted to. So I'm also excited to hopefully have a follow-up at some point where she would share with us what she decided to do and where she was at in the process and stuff like that. You're not under any pressure to respond, Tori, in the comments today. We're talking about potentially a follow-up sometime. So anyway.
She's like, leave me alone, you people. Everyone leave me be.
She's such a good sport. But, as I said before, I think these are very, very common things that flower farmers face. And I think it's people are on the right track if they're starting to wonder if the things that they're doing are the best things that they could be doing, And these basic tips that Lennie offered, that I'm sure she actually offers to her own clients on a regular basis as well. It's something that everybody can take advantage of, even if you've been flower farming for a long time. But I think that if you're kind of in a similar spot as Tori, or even if you're just getting into it, where this could be a good place for you to start, and get off on the right foot. And, Lennie has a course with us called Profitable Flower Farming. It's a workshop. And it's a really great starting point for people, and I know that Tori has taken that class and is in the process of incorporating, that kind of stuff into her routine. And Profitable Flower Farming is something that Lennie put together for us as a good starting point for folks that needed a little leg up on business analysis and stuff like that. And we appreciate that, Tori. Or Lennie, excuse me.
It's just the perfect bite too. I totally agree. I've watched it probably 2 or 3 times back when we first produced it, and I thought, this is just such a grassroots. Yes, you can figure this out, and let's do it. Let's do it together, And I just want to say, as I consider myself a seasoned business person, that is the root of success. It truly is. And I think that your teaching, Lennie, in that course, and your book too, just makes it doable. But hearing it, that's the difference.
Right.
I'm a bookworm. I've always been a bookworm, but there is something about having somebody talking to you and showing you and leading you that just leads the way. So we're just pleased as punch to kind of like, especially at this time of the year, to have a little special offer going on. And so that's what it was all about. People are either happy with their results from the season right now, or they're thinking, holy cow, I am in the hole and it's the end of the season. Now's the time to make a change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, first of all, what a fun opportunity to create this course with you guys. I've just loved the whole process. And I've heard from lots of people who describe themselves as not business people. They're like, I hate marketing, or I'm scared of marketing. And the course isn't really about marketing, but I'm not a numbers person. I don't like the business stuff. I got into this so I don't have to be at a desk. And we understand that, we totally understand that. And that's the way I see this course. Is it's a way to dip your toes into being strategic about your business. And I used to hear this fear that making your farm feel a little bit more like a business would take some of the romance away, or, make it feel like a job you left. But I've found that to be, both personally and now with so many students, found that to be anything, it couldn't be farther from the truth. Because I think we build these farms, we love gardening, we love flowers, we love being outside. And so we start, before we know it, we have a farm. And that's beautiful, and it's fulfilling, and it helps us slow down. I know for me, it's helped me slow down in my life and become present. And that's wonderful. But then once you learn this sort of game of business, being strategic, doing the things we talked about with Tori, looking at your numbers, starting to think about marketing and data, it adds a whole new level of interest to keep you excited and motivated for your farm. So it adds a layer of depth to the farm. It doesn't take anything away from the farm. It in fact frees you up to have more time so that you can stroll the farm in the evening, or enjoy it when you're not working, because you'll no longer always be working, because you're getting better at what you do. And, we naturally get better at growing the crops. We just do, the more time we spend with them. But this side of things, unless we focus on it, and like Lisa said, unless we have a coach there talking with us on camera or on a course, whatever, ask and encouraging us to ask those probing questions of ourselves, we're not, we can feel stuck. So I think this is a great way to get unstuck.
Yeah. And Lennie, I think that it is the most romantic part of flower farming for me is making money. I mean, honestly, it's like I love doing this, but how much more do I love when there's money left at the end of the season because I made more than I spent.
Yes.
And now we can dump it into whatever you want to dump it into. But it's like that will fuel your fire like you have never been lit before. And so I think it's a piece of the pie that I would be willing to say that 75 to 80% of people that start flower farming, that leave flower farming, never even touch their toe in. And that's probably the reason why.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And we don't, none of us like to kind of fear monger, but it's hard sitting back here, seeing all these new flower farmers join the industry. And Lisa, you've been doing it so much longer. I imagine you've come to peace with it or figured out how to deal with it. But you see these people and their ambition and their drive and how badly they want to create something for themselves. But then after a few years, if you're a few years in and you haven't begun to think about this side of the farm, which is really the business side, you're going to burn out and you're not going to be in business much longer. And that's just sad. And it's frustrating for us to see as coaches, as teachers, as people in this industry who love this industry. And we just care about these flower farmers because we know them. We are them. You know what I mean? We all share so much in common, and we just truly want the best for all you guys. And that's why getting into this side of the business in a fun, gentle way is so important, perhaps before you even feel ready to do it.
Yeah. So I see that we have a question. What is the name of the course? So the course is called Profitable Flower Farming, Online Workshop with Lennie Larkin. The course is normally $199 and it is on special for $159 until when, Jessi?
It is until October 1st. Until midnight on October 1st.
So that's like next Wednesday, I think.
That's right.
And, just very casually that our courses, once you buy them, you own them for life. They're lifetime, unlimited access. So as you grow, you revisit and learn new things that you didn't hear the first time around. But I can't recommend it enough, for sure.
So that is actually what the QR code here is for. If you wanted to check it out, we're trying that. That's a new feature this time. So if you happen to have your phone handy and you want to scan that, you certainly can. And then I also put the link to the page, the product information page for your course, Lennie. I put that in the comments as well. But also anyone I don't know if anyone can hear my dogs barking. Sorry about that.
It's that time.
People, it's okay.
But anyway, but also we have our homepage at thegardenersworkshop.com has a little yellow banner at the top right now that has a link to directly to Lennie's course page where you can see all the information about what the course includes. There's like a course syllabus, table of contents on there. And it talks about, all of the details of how you would access the online course and how you can use our app to access it and, listen at your own pace and all that good stuff. But I would tell you, it's a very digestible course. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of like worksheets and like ways for you to really take what you are learning and apply it in real time to your business. And the great thing about that is you can continue to do that, right? So you could do that every year if you wanted. You could do it every quarter, whatever makes sense for you. And make sure that you are, staying on track for what you're trying to accomplish with your business, whatever that might be. So I feel like it's a really usable course, utilitarian course that is also very beautiful. You did a great job designing it.
It's just the root of how you're going to turn the corner, but I do recommend everybody go over there and read it. Read the syllabus and look, there's like 12 handouts, 24 sessions, I think. Anyway, it'll be a really big help. And I think that'll be great.
Yeah. And if you guys are like me out there, not everyone has taken tons of courses. Some people are sometimes doing professional development for yourself is the last thing you have in mind, right? You're like, I have to put my budget towards my seeds or my tubers. But first of all, let's never forget that this is a business expense and that you can start spending money in your business, even if you haven't done all the things yet, even if you don't have a separate business bank account for your farm, you can start keeping track of the expenses for your business. And this is one of those things that's going to pay off, like these ladies said, over and over again. You can come back to it. Every year that you watch it, you'll have a different understanding of it. And that's what I think is so beautiful. It's a great way to help you review your season too.
Yeah, for sure.
So we did have someone that asked a question in the comments there. Are you able to see those, Lennie?
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to my third year and I feel like I have a pretty good system down on the business side. I'm in the black. Would it be super valuable to me? I mean, I like to be honest with people and try to give them I think we all do, a good sense. I suspect it would still be really valuable for you. I would highly encourage you to always check out the course sales page. There's a lot of information there. So you can tune into exactly what's happening in this exact course and what you might need or might not need. But if you haven't taken a lens of kind of being strategic to your business yet, I think it's hugely helpful. And especially if you're not working with a coach or a teacher, which most of us are not, most of you are not, right? It could be a great way to dip your toes into getting some outside insight on flower farming in general so that you can learn to apply these types of questions to your own farm in a specific way that will relate to you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And I think, we maybe have some reviews there on the page as well. I think that it's helpful to read about other people's experience with the course and that kind of thing. And so you can check those out as well. And, again, if you joined late or anything like that, we are just kind of talking about some highlights from a podcast that's going to be released in full on Tuesday, the Field and Garden podcast. And we offered some highlights here tonight. And Lennie was super sweet to join us, Lisa as well, and Tori in the comments. Everybody back together again after we recorded in July. And, that'll be released in full on Tuesday. You'll be able to check that out both on our website and wherever you get your podcasts normally as well. And on YouTube, it's because it's a video one. So we'll have the full length video over there on YouTube. So once again, the QR code here is for the sales page for Lennie's course, Profitable Flower Farming. And it's on sale until October 1st on Wednesday. And, we hope you'll check it out. And I know you're going to be seeing Lennie and Lisa a little bit more talking about it here over the next couple of days. We have another event that I haven't scheduled the official event for it yet, but on Tuesday night coming up. And then Lennie will be guest hosting for our regular Ask a Flower Farmer Q&A segment next Wednesday on the 1st. And so she'll have an opportunity they'll have an opportunity to answer questions and stuff like that in both of those scenarios.
I'll be picking out my outfit over the weekend, getting my hair done, getting all ready for that.
Yeah, me too.
I'll look a lot like this.
Awesome. Well, do either of you have anything that you would like to add before we sign off here tonight?
Well, I think that I would first off want to thank Lennie and also Tori for just, being a part of this with Jessi and I. And I thought it was a lot of fun just exploring because most of the problems that we all face in business might have a different color coat, but it's the same coat. We all face it. And I just thank Tori for being vulnerable enough to come and share, and Lennie for taking her time, and Jessi for leading us along and making it all happen. And I just can't recommend enough, again, Lennie's course I just believe this is the foundation step, that if you're dabbling and starting, or you've been growing for a year or two, this is the next step. Growing the flower part is manageable, but you've got to figure out how to make money, or it's not going to keep going. And I think that's really helpful. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, thank you both for having me so much. And Tori, thank you. You're such a graceful person. And later you told us that you were nervous and you would never have known because you were sitting there with such poise and doing a great job in your business too. So
Yes.
thanks for letting us make an example of you. And it's just been so fun. It's been so fun to collaborate with you guys through this whole process, and especially coaching a farmer in the ways that our different brains work. And so it's been really, really wonderful. And I hope a lot of flower farmers are enjoying it as well.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, ladies. And thanks to all of you who tuned in tonight. And this will be available for replay in all the original places that it was broadcast. So feel free to watch it over if you had to join late or anything like that. So we appreciate everyone. And thank you so much. And we hope to see you again here in the next few days. All right. Everyone have a good night. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.